The school bell rings, signaling the end of another day, but for one student, it's far from over. As they walk down the hallway, the laughter of a group of bullies echoes in the air, getting louder with each step. Just when things seem like they're about to take a turn for the worse, a figure emerges from the shadows. It's the janitor, someone most students overlook, but today, he's about to do something no one expected. With quiet determination, the janitor steps in, confronting the bullies and sending them running. But this act of bravery only raises more questions. Who is this janitor, and why did he risk everything to protect someone he barely knows? As the student looks up in gratitude, the janitor reveals a surprising truth, one that changes everything. The principal, witnessing the entire scene, pulls the student aside, hinting at a hidden past that connects them all in ways no one could have imagined. What's the story behind the janitor's past, and how is it linked to the school's dark secrets? You won't believe what happens next. Stay tuned to find out. The student stands frozen, their hearts still racing from the encounter with the bullies. They glance at the janitor, who stands in the hallway, his eyes calm but piercing. The bullies had scattered so quickly, almost as if they knew the janitor wasn't someone to mess with. The student feels a strange mix of relief and confusion. Who was this man? He didn't look like anyone important, just a quiet figure who always seemed to blend into the background. But now, there was something about him, something different. As the student turns to leave, the principal approaches, her footsteps echoing down the empty hallway. The principal is a figure who commands respect, her stern demeanor never faltering. She pauses in front of the student, giving them a knowing look. "You're lucky he was here," the principal says, her voice softer than usual. "But there's more to him than you think." The student frowns. "What do you mean?" The principal hesitates, as if weighing her words carefully. "You don't know it yet, but your lives are more connected than you realize. That janitor. He's not just some man cleaning up after you all. He's someone who's been through more than most people could ever imagine. And his past? It's tied to this school in ways you wouldn't believe." The words hang in the air like a heavy fog, and the student can't help but feel a shiver run down their spine. The principal turns, motioning for the student to follow her. "Come with me. There's something I need to show you." They walk down the long, quiet hallway, the sound of their footsteps echoing off the walls. The principal leads them to a door at the far end of the school, one the student has never noticed before. It's old, with a brass plaque that's barely readable. The principal unlocks it with a key from her pocket and gestures for the student to enter. Inside, the room is filled with old, dusty files and photographs, the kind that seem to belong to another era. The walls are lined with shelves, and there's a desk cluttered with papers. The principal walks over to a file cabinet, pulling out a thick folder. She places it on the desk, opens it, and begins flipping through the pages. "You see," she begins, her voice low, "this school has a history, one that's been buried for years. And the janitor, he's at the center of it all." The student leans in, curiosity piqued. "What do you mean? What's his connection to this school?" The principal sighs, her expression growing more serious. "Years ago, before this school was even built, there was a tragedy. A family, one that had been living on the land for generations, was torn apart. The father was a well-known figure in the town, a businessman with a reputation. But behind closed doors, he was hiding a dark secret." The student listens intently, the room feeling colder with each word. The principal continues, her voice growing quieter. "The janitor, he was part of that family. He was a young boy back then, just like you. But the tragedy changed everything. The father's secret was exposed, and it ruined their lives. The janitor's family was forced into hiding, and he was left to fend for himself." The student's mind races, trying to piece together the fragments of the story. But why is he here? Why is he working as a janitor? The principal pauses, her eyes darkening. Because he chose to come back. After everything that happened, he couldn't stay away. This school, it's not just a place for education. It's a place where the past still lingers. And the janitor, he's been watching over it all, waiting for the right moment. The student's heart pounds in their chest. What moment? What's he waiting for? The principal doesn't answer right away. Instead, she pulls out another photograph, one that catches the student's attention. It's a picture of a young boy, no older than 10, standing beside a man in a suit. The boy's face is familiar, too familiar. It's the janitor. But the man beside him. The student's breath catches in their throat. It's the principal, much younger, her expression cold and distant. That's you, the student asks, barely able to believe it. The principal nods, her face unreadable. I knew him once. We were close, back before everything fell apart. But that was a long time ago. Things changed and we went our separate ways. The student's mind spins. The janitor, the principal, and this hidden past, what did it all mean? Why had the principal kept this secret for so long? Before they can ask another question, the door to the room swings open and the janitor steps inside. His presence fills the room, and the student can't help but feel a sense of awe. He's not the same man they saw earlier. There's something more to him, something that's impossible to ignore. The janitor looks at the principal, his gaze steady. You told them, didn't you? The principal nods. It's time they knew the truth. The janitor looks at the student, his expression softening for the first time. You're part of this now. There's no turning back. The student feels a knot form in their stomach. What do you mean? The janitor steps forward, his voice low but firm. The bullies you face today, they're not just kids being kids. They're part of something much bigger. Something that's been hidden for years. And you've just become a target. The room feels like it's closing in, the weight of his words sinking in. The student looks between the janitor and the principal, both of them silent, their faces unreadable. What do we do now? The student asks, their voice barely above a whisper. The janitor looks at the principal, then back at the student. We wait. But we don't have much time. The past is coming back, and we have to be ready. The tension in the room is palpable, and the student feels a chill run down their spine. The janitor's words hang in the air, heavy with meaning. The past is coming back. What does that mean? What is this dark history that's threatening to resurface? As the janitor and the principal exchange a look, the student can't shake the feeling that something is about to happen, something that will change everything. And the bullies, the ones who had caused so much trouble, they were just the beginning. The student takes a deep breath, trying to steady themselves. They have no idea what's coming next, but they know one thing for sure, nothing will ever be the same again. The days that followed felt like a blur. The student couldn't shake the weight of the janitor's words. They had barely slept, their mind constantly racing, piecing together the fragments of the past. The school, once a place of routine, had transformed into something much darker, a place where secrets lingered in every corner. And the janitor, who had once seemed like nothing more than a quiet, overlooked figure, was now at the center of it all. The tension between the janitor and the principal had grown. Every time the students saw them together, there was an unspoken understanding, a shared history that neither of them seemed ready to fully reveal. The janitor had become more distant, as if the weight of the past was pulling him back into a world he had tried to escape. The principal, too, had become more withdrawn, her usual sternness replaced by a quiet sadness. The student couldn't help but feel caught in the middle of something much larger than themselves. The bullies who had once seemed like the biggest threat were now just pawns in a much bigger game. They were part of something far more sinister, something tied to the school's history and the janitor's tragic past. One afternoon, as the students sat in the library, trying to focus on their homework, they saw the janitor walking past the windows. His usual slow, methodical pace was gone. He was walking faster, almost as if he were in a hurry. The student felt a sense of urgency rise within them. Something was happening. Something big. They grabbed their things and rushed to catch up with him, pushing through the halls until they found him standing by the old storage room near the back of the school. The door was slightly ajar, and the janitor was looking inside, his expression unreadable. Is everything okay? the student asked, stepping cautiously toward him. The janitor turned, his face softening when he saw the student. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice low and serious. "I need to know what's going on," the student insisted. "What's happening? What are you waiting for?" The janitor hesitated for a moment, then sighed. "I've been waiting for this moment my whole life. But it's not something I can face alone. That's why I've been watching over you. You're part of this now. You always have been." The student's heart raced. "What do you mean? How am I part of this?" The janitor looked at them, his eyes filled with a mix of regret and determination. "You're connected to the past in ways you don't understand yet. The bullies, the secrets of this school, they're all part of a larger story. One that's been buried for far too long." Before the student could respond, the principal appeared in the doorway. Her eyes were red as if she had been crying. She looked at the janitor, then at the student, her expression hardening. "It's time," she said quietly. "We can't run from this anymore." The student felt a chill run down their spine. "Time for what?" The principal stepped forward, her gaze never leaving the janitor. "For the truth to come out. For the past to be revealed." The janitor nodded, his face grim. "The truth is, this school was built on lies. Lies that have been passed down for generations. And now, it's all coming to a head." The student felt a knot form in their stomach. "What do you mean? What's the truth?" The principal took a deep breath, then began to speak, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Years ago, before this school was ever built, there was a family living on this land. They were well known in the town, wealthy, respected, but they were hiding something. The father, he was a man of power, but he was also a man of secrets. And one of those secrets was the janitor's family." The student's mind spun. "The janitor's family?" The principal nodded. Yes. The janitor's father was once a close friend of the man who built this school, but their friendship was destroyed when the truth came out. The father's business dealings were corrupt, and the janitor's family was blamed for everything. The janitor's family was forced to leave, to disappear. And the janitor, he grew up with nothing, haunted by the past. The student could hardly believe what they were hearing. But why didn't the janitor ever tell anyone? The janitor stepped forward, his face filled with pain. "Because I couldn't. I couldn't let anyone know the truth. I had to live in the shadows, working as a janitor, trying to stay invisible. But when you came to this school, I knew something had changed. You're the key to everything." The student's mind raced. "I'm the key." The principal nodded. "You're connected to the family that was destroyed all those years ago. You're their descendant." The words hit the student like a punch to the gut. "What? How is that possible?" The principal sighed. "Your great-grandparents were part of the family that once lived here. They were the ones who were wronged. And now, the time has come for the truth to be known." The student's mind was spinning. The bullies, the janitor, the principal, they were all connected in ways they couldn't have imagined. The secrets of the school, the land, and the families that had been intertwined for so long were finally coming to light. "But what does this all mean?" the student asked, their voice shaking. The janitor stepped closer, his eyes filled with a sense of finality. "It means that the lies are over. It means that the truth will be exposed. And it means that the people who have been hiding in the shadows for so long will finally have to face the consequences." The principal nodded. It's time for the school to reckon with its past. The bullies, the corruption, the cover-ups, it all ends now. As the students stood there, trying to process everything, they felt a sense of clarity wash over them. They weren't just a bystander in this story, they were a part of it. And now, it was up to them to help bring the truth to light. The janitor and the principal exchanged a look, one that spoke volumes. They had both carried the weight of the past for so long, and now it was time for the student to join them in confronting it. The student took a deep breath. "What do we do now?" The janitor smiled, a faint glimmer of hope in his eyes. "We fight." we expose the truth. And we make sure that the past never repeats itself. The student nodded, feeling a sense of resolve settle over them. The journey was far from over, but they were no longer alone. The truth had been uncovered, and together they would face whatever came next. ASE, the three of them walked out of the room, the weight of the past still hung in the air. But for the first time in a long time, there was a sense of hope. The past had been buried for far too long, but now it was finally coming to light. And with that, a new chapter was about to begin. Oh,